So this is John Chitty, and greetings to you all remotely. Just to kick it off, I would like to begin with a little bit about myself and about where I'm coming from. And I was contemplating this, and you can see perhaps the slide here, is that really there was a generation of our therapeutic ancestors who could really be described as spanning specialization in the mind, specialization in the body, and somewhat of a hybrid in the middle. And they were all born before 1900 and all quite dynamic and famous in their own right. And you can see with the blue arrows that Fritz Perls, the psychiatrist, and Randolph Stone were both closely affiliated with Robert Hall, whereas Ida Rolf and Randolph Stone were both inputs for Peter Levine. And myself and my wife, who are the sort of co-operators of Colorado School of Energy Studies, indirectly derived from Robert Hall and from Peter Levine. So we're sort of representing these lineages in our the material that's being described in this call. And then I gave you a page as well, which is sort of a biography, some highlights from my own arc through the last 30-some-odd years, 37 years. I won't be dwelling on this right now, but, it's there within your handout. You can, ponder it a little bit as you like. The gist of it is that I've been, really for 20 years, been interested in conveying the information of Peter Levine and Stephen Porges and others into the touch therapy world. And through this collaboration with Diane and some other experiences, I'm now attempting to bring some of the body information over towards the more psychological world. And that's proving to be most interesting and a lot of fun. So then we just carry it a little further and wanting you to appreciate how Peter Levine's work, which is really a guiding star for this whole approach, how much it was informed by Randolph Stone, who was the originator of the modality that interests me the most, polarity therapy. And this is a direct quote off an audio tape, and he describes how the two polarities are expansion and contraction, and a wave undulation between the expansive quality and its contraction is a normal function. So he's describing movement in a field, expansion, contraction, expansion, contraction. And in the body, we're very familiar with this as biological rhythms, such as arteries and veins, motor and sensory nerves, inhalation, exhalation of breathing. So then he continues, and he talks about how a trauma vortex has the effect of creating fixation, and that the fundamental essence of his approach is to restore the movement between expansion and contraction, get back to the normal process of self-regulation, the energetic basis of self-regulation. And then he completes this little segment by saying how deeply he was influenced by Stone. And he was there in Berkeley. So was Stephen Porges, Robert Hall. They were all, it was a magical time, as Robert Hall has described it, when there was a great synthesis arising. And he was actually right there in the middle of it. So he took these ideas, and that was the foundation for what we today know as somatic experiencing. And of course, he added his tremendous insights and his double PhD and all of his other, his gift, really. He's a genius in his world, I think. So then I could just take it a little further, and we could pick up a picture from Randolph Stone. And here we see his basic idea of an energy field in the human body with expansion at the North Pole and contraction at the South Pole, and a circuit flowing from one to the other. And based on that, we could propose a science of mind-body connection, that we have the more mental aspects as more expansive and more of a witness consciousness, and the body aspects as a more of a gravitational gathering and more of a participant consciousness. And these could easily fit with the ancient wisdom concepts of Yin and Yang, Yin for the South Pole and Yang for the North Pole. And so I have used that terminology, as a basis. For instance, the title of the book, Dancing with Yin and Yang, is all about, invoking that ancient understanding. And Yin and Yang could be, we could use Pitta and Kapha and other terms. Hatha is Ha, and Tha is sun and moon. Other traditions use other terms, but I think that Yin and Yang are perhaps the best known. So then, reading in the left-hand side, you can see some of the basic assumptions underlying this whole method, that mind and body form an interdependent circuit, and that the laws of biology and the laws of psychology could be expected to conform to the laws of nature in general. So we have the idea of a possibility of splicing science disciplines together under a unified theory of expansion, contraction, expansion, contraction. The interdependence is an important part. That is, I grew up initially in the body-centered world, and all of you, I'm sure, were coming more from the mind side of the equation. And really, I think what we've all been learning on both sides of the fence is the interdependence of the two, that as you think, so your body becomes, and as you have bodily experience, that clearly affects your mental process. So that'll be sort of the theme as we go forward. So then, we'll take one more glance at this just to bring it into multiple disciplines. This idea of one form or one pattern underlying experience can be found at the microscopic level, the atom, the cell, at the visible level, the organ, and at the highest level, as the astronomical phenomena. And my hypothesis is that the same is going to be observable in human behavior, in relationships, in cycles of life, in life situations, that we can expect to find expansive and contractive phases interacting with each other, interdependent, and we can really use that to great advantage in therapeutic settings. And this is the whole basis of the book, which perhaps some of you have had a chance to glance at already. So then that gives us, then we can go to one more step with this, how we could then begin to translate this into specifics in the body, in the mind, in the more spiritual or more cosmology dimension, and I offer you this slide as a way to kind of fill in the picture and expand. If you're more body oriented, you'll recognize these features, etc., for mind and spirit. So I mentioned that the relationship phenomena can be expected to conform to the same principles. And that's really a underlying assumption of the whole thing. So offering for you here a picture of that, how there's an expansive quality at one side and a gathering or a gravitational quality at the other, and the two, just like two ends of a bar magnet, are drawn to each other in the center, and we have a heart representing that. And the heart is there not just as an emblem of love, such as when we have male and female magnetically attracted to each other, but also in a larger sense, that heart shape was used by the Sufis to indicate the union of Yin and Yang and the sacred geometry of a golden mean. And there's a lot to that. There's a very rich tradition dealing with fractal phenomena and similar concepts. So as we go forward, you'll hear over and over again the idea that the relationship is also a dipole, is also exhibiting energetic attraction, repulsion, expansion, contraction, the same phenomena, the appearance of these same principles will recur over and over again. So then, let's see, I'll go one more. Just to show how traditionally this has been applied, here's the idea of archetypes of yin and yang, and this is quite ancient. The idea is in Oriental or Taoist philosophy that there's really only 4 diseases. There are 10,000 symptoms, but only 4 diseases. And the 4 diseases are too much or too little of yang and yin. And then these can be observed in human behavior, as is described, for example, in the book I Ching, which is a fundamental book in Oriental philosophy and a basis for the health practices. And we won't dwell on this right now, but it makes a colorful and perhaps a memorable context for understanding how behavioral could manifest as imbalances, or perhaps once we are aware of the possibilities, these can be, we have a guidebook to help us reestablish balance. The archetype of balance, yin and yang, is sun for yang and moon for yin, ha and tha, and this is very well developed in ancient literature. A goal of counseling from this perspective is to help people use awareness, as Dan Siegel says, name it to tame it, use awareness to self-identify and self-correct as much as possible. And of course, some people are not able to do that, but at least we have a roadmap to get us started. So then this brings us to our next topic, and I would like to just have a little pause. If there's anyone who has a question about this sort of a quick introduction to the material and to myself, anything you'd like me to address before we move along into polyvagal theory and Steve Porges?
Hi, John. It's nice to be here with you tonight. I just wanted to make a comment that I am finding, the concept of the idea of the expansion and contraction of the universe and bringing that down to a level of behavior and the steps. I find that absolutely fascinating. So
Great.
I guess my question is, do you go into that more in your book?
Absolutely. Very much, extensively.
Great.
That's the premise
Absolutely
of the whole book.
Okay, great. I'm really excited to. I'll definitely order it tonight. I'm really excited to find out more about that. Thanks.
Great.
My background is in dance movement therapy.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So, and I
very
was doing,
compatible with this.
Absolutely. I'm so very excited about this, and I did my thesis project with premature babies in the neonatal intensive care unit. And I'm wondering if you could say some things about how your work with pre and perinatal relates to all of the work here. I mean, I can see how it all fits. And I'm looking at I'd like to bring forward some of the things I learned from the babies and some pioneering interventions, non-invasive ones. So I'm really looking very much forward to being able to incorporate more of this. And I did do 3 years of the somatic experiencing training.
Great.
And I think that was a great fit as well, and then a lot of personal work to really get that experience in my body. But I'd love to bring this forward more. So
Well, it is a excellent fit, and it has been well tested. I'm particularly aligned with Ray Castellino, who studied in person with Randolph Stone, and without trying to veer off into that as a topic, perhaps you've watched the video. Have you had a chance to see that yet?
Which video? Do you mean the one when you're speaking with Diane?
Yes.
Yes, I have.
So that gets us started, and then in the book there's additional material. But suffice it to say that some of the basic concepts, such as the baby's security being primary, and the baby existing in a field, and the field having sperm and egg and neutral as its origin, and the derivation of various phenomena or behaviors can be traced to the energy field effect. And then furthermore, the whole realm of how to work with babies and work with families, and especially the understanding of the autonomic nervous system, that babies are super sentient and take care of the autonomic nervous system first and foremost.
Yeah.
And I mean not just babies, but moms as well, because baby is a hitchhiker on mom's autonomic nervous system. So really take care of mom's, fight, flight, freeze, all of that. Really monitor that and make that a top priority, and the baby will feel much more secure through the whole process. Even if there have to be interventions, they can be managed. And I'm not just making this up. I've seen this in real practice. It's very, very effective to do it this way.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Is there some way that I could have more contact with either your school or you with some more things about this?
Yes. Just use the website on the front page of your handouts, and just click contact, and that comes directly to me.
Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.